that if you were single, maybe, a 500 square foot apartment would be perfect for you. And then you're looking in the 450 to $500 range.
You could
They can
find
be found.
you could find 450, 500 in the Centro area there.
Yes.
All day long.
Hello, I'm Ray from Adventure Freaks. Thanks for joining us. Today, we have a special treat. We're going to go over to Italy, Tuscany, Italy, and we're talking with Ilene and Gary Modica, who have written 2 books on their journey to identify their dream destination, which happens to be in Tuscany, Italy. And they reveal the town that they live in this podcast. We also cover the cost of living, all the details on what you would need to know to live there. So thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps us immensely. And thanks again for viewing our content. So today we are heading over to Tuscany, the beautiful area of Italy, with my 2 new friends, Ilene and Gary Modica. Hey guys, thanks for being a part of the podcast. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So this is a region that so many people talk about because it's so gorgeous, Tuscany. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, about where you guys are originally from and how you decided to retire in Italy and land in this part of Italy, Tuscany.
Well, we visited Italy in 2010 and 2012, and it was the trip home in 2012 where we literally looked at each other and said, "Okay, we got to figure out how we can live here." I
Okay.
just fell in love with Italy. I fell in love with everything about Italy, and that's when we started investigating the different ways to get here to live, whether it be through citizenship or other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I had to trace my bloodline to my grandfather, and I was allowed by the Italian government to file for citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
And after 3 years of a roller coaster ride, waiting to hear, I finally got a 1-paragraph email that was in my spam that said, "Congratulations, you are now an Italian citizen."
Wow.
And that was, I mean, that day was special. That was actually, it was September 11th, 2018.
Yeah. And
So
it was those trips, those 2 trips, like every other tourist, trying to see as much of Italy as we could in 2 weeks that we had off from work because we weren't retired yet. And even though we were exhausted on the plane, we felt like Italy was home.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
something we had to figure out how we could make it happen. And we were living in Arizona then, and Gary had to get a lot of his papers through New York because we're both from New York. I'm from Long Island, and Gary's from Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a process. It's a difficult process. I won't make light of it.
Yeah.
But it was worth the ride.
So when you guys actually visited Italy and you said it felt like home and you were like tourists, you visited certain places. Do any specific places in Italy that you went to prior to moving there stand out? Like you fell in love or you're like, wow, this is an amazing place to visit and be. Any of those places stand out?
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think to date we've been to 121 towns in Italy. So
Wow.
I've heard that's some more than some Italians have been to.
Sure.
Probably more than most Italians have been to.
Yeah.
In that 2019, when we wrote our first book, As We Traveled, that's what we were looking for, our perfect Italian town. And it had criteria. It needed to be on a good train line. It needed to, we were hoping for flat so we could not climb mountains or such. We wanted it to be good restaurants and availability for groceries and that
Pedestrian friendly.
pedestrian friendly. Good
Yeah.
way to put it. So in our travels, we came across a couple. Now, Conversano in Puglia was delightful. It
Mhm.
was charming. We love the food and wine. Oh yeah, that's another criteria. It's very close to Polignano a Mare,
Okay.
little inland from Polignano,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
15-minute bus ride.
but we loved it. The con was very little English spoken, if
Ah,
any.
yeah.
So yes, good food, good wine, good train. Um, not so much English. So that was a contender. We also stayed in Arezzo for a month during this 2019 adventure. And great town, great train line. Now Arezzo is in Tuscany, but on the easternmost possible end. But it was the hill town. So another problem.
Being part Billy Goat was required.
Definitely a problem. And again, very little English, but charming. Arezzo was very medieval. And so all these towns spoke to us, and everybody said to us, don't they all seem to look alike after a while? And yes, they may have some similarities, but they're all very different.
Yeah.
And so we kept looking, and then went back to the States for a bit. Of course, that thing called COVID hit. And when we came back to Italy, we were still looking for our perfect Italian town.
Yeah.
And we were going to go back to Arezzo. And the apartment that we really wanted to stay in was not available. And the owners were very disappointed that they couldn't help us out. So we came to Luca, and it was a month while we were in Luca that we looked at each other and said, let's look no further. This is it. And we've
Wow.
never left.
Wow. What was it about Luca that just stood out that you knew?
It spoke to me. Well, number one, I'm a history buff.
Okay.
And the wall of Luca has, Le Mura is called, has a history all its own.
Okay.
The fact that the Medici never conquered Luca it hits my heart because the Medici symbol, the balls, are all over the place except in Luca. You
Uh-huh.
don't see that anymore.
Pisa never conquered Luca.
Well, after the wall, no.
No.
Before, yes.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
Firenze, no.
the people, the atmosphere, the large expat community is a big help.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's flat, so we ride our bicycles through town on the wall. It's right between Firenze and Viareggio. Good train line.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
it takes us an hour and 20 minutes to get to Firenze, which is one of our favorite cities. And it takes us 20 minutes on the train to get to the beach at Viareggio. And
Nice.
so it's
Yeah, it's the train line is fantastic here. I really enjoy traveling by train. It's just something that you really don't do in the States because most cities don't have an interconnecting train line like
Nope.
Italy.
Nope. That's true. So do you guys get around primarily by public transportation or do you have a vehicle?
No vehicle, public transportation, but we've been blessed to make friends with two lovely people who have a car, and they include us in almost everything they do.
Okay. So,
I
well, you,
finally gave Gary the green light to get a car if he really needs it, but
See, my biggest problem is trains and buses do not go to vineyards,
ah,
and I like going to vineyards.
yeah. Well, that's something that you have to enjoy if you're living in Italy, especially in Tuscany.
Exactly.
Okay, so then how do you guys get around town? I mean, do you live Do you live in the center of Luca where you can like walk to the grocery store or walk to the restaurants and the pubs? Is
Yes.
Yes.
So
okay.
my preference, if I'm going to live in a historic city, I want to live in Centro. I want to be able to enjoy the cafe culture, go out and meet my friends down at the corner, walk to any museums or musical events. So we live inside the wall, and Gary, on the other hand, would prefer to live outside the wall in the country.
With a little vineyard.
Yeah. No, not for me. We walk everywhere. We take our bicycles everywhere. It's being in the historic center is meaningful for me. That kind of lifestyle. We walk. How many steps is our Vinarchia?
It's, what is that, 790 steps to our favorite bar.
See,
Ooh,
And our favorite restaurant is 1,400 steps.
wow.
So I get my steps in.
That's
But,
fantastic.
it's a different lifestyle inside the wall versus outside the wall. Outside, people are called stanari,
Yeah.
which are strangers.
Yeah. What's the population of Luca?
The main population of Luca is 80,000 or
Okay.
so. The population inside the wall is about 12,000.
Okay.
The province of Luca is quite
Yeah.
large. I
And
mean,
Sounds
it's
like it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
inside the wall, the expat population is almost 10% of that.
Wow.
So you've got a large expat presence here.
So that's a really, it sounds like a great town to move to get acclimated to Italy, because you have so many people that can support you and help you become
correct.
acclimated to the culture. Okay.
I will say one thing to you though. If you're thinking about coming to Italy to live, do what we did while we were waiting for our paperwork. We would come for 90 days, stay in one town,
Yeah.
and then go back to the States for 90. And, we played that game of coming back, going back, coming back. In 90 days, you get to feel part of the community. You get to feel whether you could do it or not.
True. Yep. It's good
Because
advice.
we stayed in Parma, which is up in Emilia Romagna,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
another flat town. Great food, obviously. Parmigiano Reggiano is there, and Parma ham.
Yeah.
Loved Parma. We stayed there for 90 days. A little bit more modern that I preferred, but it was a great train line up by Verona. You could easily get to Venice and like Como and Milano, down as far as down into Modena and Bologna, right?
Well, Bologna is a main train hub. So
Yeah. But I mean, so Parma spoke to us, but I don't think you could get a feel for whether you would want to live someplace in 2 weeks. I don't think you could get that sense from any city.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
agree.
Parma was another contender for us.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you guys almost took you took the hard route, because as soon as you start of investigating all these different places and spending time in these different, I mean, Italy is so beautiful. I think it's always ranked like the #1 country for beauty in the world. It's like the most beautiful place to. So I mean, all these little towns, all these little places that you go to, you could fall in love everywhere in Italy. It's one of those places where you can go in the middle of nowhere, in the center somewhere, away from the coast, and find a gem that's just absolutely stunningly beautiful. And you're like, "Oh, okay, I want to live here now." It's like that's where it becomes really crazy to figure out, where are we going to live and how do you pick a place here? Because there's so many options.
And a lot of people ask us that. We get quite a few emails from people saying, well, how did you choose it? Well, it wasn't easy, believe me. But,
Yeah.
nothing is forever either. I mean, if
True.
we feel that we find another town that speaks to us, I guess we could pick up and go. It would break my heart, but it's part of the adventure in our journey.
it would be hard to leave Luca now.
Yes,
It
I
really,
think
Yeah.
we've become so embedded. We've made Italian friends as well. Um, we've just became so much a part of the fabric of Luca that it would be hard for me to leave you, even
Yeah.
for Sicily.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you guys found your place, man. That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this question before we jump into breaking down the costs. So, like in this region that you're um, in the Tuscany region, what if you think about like finding a rental, finding, paying utilities, groceries per month, getting around, transportation budgets, going out to eat, having local restaurants, not the big, five-star Michelin restaurants, but just
Mhm.
local neighborhood restaurants. You get a plate of pasta or whatever. How much do you feel people would need to get by per month on? What would they
A
need to
lot
make?
less than you think.
Okay, so give our viewers an idea. What could it be? 1,000? Could it be 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 per month that they would need to live comfortably? You got a rental, you got your utilities, you go out a couple maybe times a week to go have a nice little pasta with a glass of wine. What are you looking at?
I do the budgeting here. We spend about $2,400 to $2,900 a euro a month.
Okay.
But we don't hold back on anything, really. We go out to eat at nice restaurants. We, we like to go to a bar that we call it our Cheers,
Hmm.
Vinarkia. And, we'll go there a couple of times during the week. And unfortunately, I do have a taste for, I've gotten a taste for more expensive Italian wines. That comes into the budget. But rent inside Centro Storico, rent is going to be less than outside Centro Storico. So it depends on how much being in the center you want.
Yeah.
If you look at our place, we've got a one bedroom, living room, kitchen, bathroom, and then the terrazzo. We pay $650 a month,
which
Okay.
is very low,
which
mind
is,
you.
now there are smaller places that if you were single, maybe, a 50, a 500 square foot apartment would be perfect for you. And then you're looking in the 450 to $500 range.
You could
They can
find
be
you could find 450, 500 in the centro area there.
Oh,
yes,
all day long. Yeah.
but this is going to be the caveat to that. It's going to be 4-story walk up, no elevator. There are
Good.
smaller apartments, but they're not going to be renovated. That's, I think, another point. Our apartment is very traditional,
Hmm.
Kind of rustic. Yeah.
rustic. Okay. Our friends who have larger apartments, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, are spending anywhere from 15 to 1,700 euro a
That's on
month
the high end. Okay.
on the high end because they have obviously more square footage. It's more renovated. Most of them have an elevator. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But can you find it? Yes, it can be. It can be found. So also to utilities. Everybody thinks that utilities are quite high in Italy, and I will say the first winter, I would not let Gary turn on the heat. And so we were freezing most of the time. And then we switched companies, and it made all the difference in the world.
Hmm.
So, yes, we get a bill for 2 months at a time,
Yeah.
but it is reasonable. Now, this winter, what was our electric bill?
Well, you're still in winter, but
Okay.
okay. We had a 200 and I don't know, $80
Euro.
euro bill, uh, for, uh,
2 months.
for 2 months.
Okay.
And then the electric bill was 70. So 350 for 2 months. We paid that and then some for 1 month in Phoenix, Arizona.
Sure.
Yeah.
So 280 was what?
That was the electric.
280 was the electric
Okay.
because we ran the electric heater
Heater.
a lot.
Okay.
Okay, and the gas bill was, I think, 75.
75. How about water?
Water is water is relatively cheap. Um, I just redid our budgets and I looked at a few things, and you know, with rent and and utilities, we're gonna look at like $870 a month.
For
Mhm.
utilities.
Now, some utilities, because they do bill you quarterly, every other month, semi-annually, that's just an average of every month. So one month you might need more than another, but that's what you're gonna average over a year.
But
Mm.
again, our
And that
apartment,
included the rent.
Mhm.
so our apartment again is 3 rooms. Our friends, their bills are respectively more. They have more rooms to heat and cool,
Sure.
so.
Yeah. So overall, if you think of electric, now when you said gas, Gary, you said 75. Was that for 2 months or 1 month
That's the
or?
2 month bill, yeah.
Okay, so it's about 37 bucks per month for gas.
And in the summertime, it's even less.
Okay, and then water, you guys, any idea water, Wi-Fi, cell
Water I get quarterly, and it's like 50 to 60 euro for the quarter.
for the quarter? Okay.
So 25, say $25, 25 euro a month.
And how about Wi-Fi out there? You guys obviously have great Wi-Fi.
Yes,
Yes.
I think it's reasonable. I mean, we pay,
My Wi-Fi and my cell phone are connected. I pay $44.78. I have unlimited talk and text within Italy. I have, I think, 50 gig for Wi-Fi. You know,
and we have high speed
we
now.
have we have high speed connections. It's a lot cheaper. My cell phone costs me 10.99 a month.
Okay.
Ten
Wow.
ninety nine a month.
You're not gonna find that in the States.
Nope. That's for sure. All right, cool. All right, well, let's move on to like groceries. What are groceries are super expensive here right now. How are they in Italy, and what do you guys budget per month?
They're about 40% less than what you're paying now there.
Okay.
We spend somewhere between 450 and 550 euro a month on groceries. And it depends on if we're having a pizza party on our terrazzo, since we have a pizza oven, or not.
Right.
You know, if we're hosting a lot of people, the bill goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to eat here than it is in the States.
Right.
So you guys are paying 450 to 500 a month in
Yes,
groceries.
yes.
Okay.
I'm compiling some information. I want to do a blog post on it where it shows what we pay in Italy for food and what we paid in the States for food.
Yeah.
Anybody that says it's more costly in Italy for food has no idea what they're talking about. I don't care what town you go to, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I mean, and you know, restaurants. If we want to eat cheap one night, I don't want to cook, we want to go out. We'll go to a little pizza place. It's going to cost us for
€6 for a pizza.
6 to 8 euro for a pizza. You know, 2 glasses of wine at 4 or 5 euro a glass, and that's your bill. So you have 24 euro for the night. You know,
Yeah.
that's the
Wow.
cost of a pizza in the States.
Yeah. Well, I know. I know. It's um so that was my next thing. So like if you guys go out for at one of these local neighborhood restaurants, you're paying about 20, 25 bucks to
Yeah,
have like a meal. Is that
For an easy meal, yeah. An
okay?
easy a pizza to me is, well, it's a staple of life, but it's an easy meal. It's a good meal,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. You know, throw dessert in there. You may be paying €30.
Okay.
Now,
Are
Gary
there
just,
any are there any local ma and pa old Italian places around there where it's less, where you can go and
oh,
get a
yeah,
really great,
absolutely,
yeah?
absolutely. So today, a friend took me to what's called, oh, I don't know the Italian name for it, but it's a workman's place for lunch. So lavoro, work, and it's like an inclusive. So you get water and vino, uh, an appetizer like a zuppa or pasta, a secondo, which is your meats or whatever. You get dessert and coffee, and it was the whole thing. I think was 750, so €750.
Wow.
And this is called the workman's lunch. Now, there were no linen tablecloths, there was no, very rustic,
Yeah.
very, but we sat there at a table and for the longest time, we were the only two women there. But it's filled with men that stop for lunch, while working. And
Obviously, I didn't go.
no, you did not. But 750 for, and like I
Wow.
said, I mean, it was very good. I had chicken scallopini.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
limited menu. I mean, they
Yes.
don't have 93 things on the
No,
menu.
no, I mean, the choice for each category was maybe like 5 things.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the best
good.
places, though.
It was good.
Sometimes it's home cooked food,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's the best. Those are the best places sometimes. So, all right. Well, so everybody that's interested in moving, retiring overseas, are interested in learning a little bit about the healthcare. So, what can you tell us about healthcare in Italy?
Healthcare in Italy is, I've never really thought of socialized medicine before, but it works. As a citizen, my healthcare is free. As a citizen over 65, I should say,
Yeah.
my healthcare is free. I've had a cataract operation here. I had one in the States. I'll take the one I had here any day.
Wow.
It cost me €120 to see the specialist because I didn't want to go full force into the medical system here without somebody that spoke English.
Yeah.
Our doctor spoke English. So €120, big deal. Everything else from that point on was free.
That's amazing.
And that's pretty much what it is. If you stay in the system, you have either a zero deductible or you might have a €20 copay or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's free. I mean, we
You don't
switch
have to, Gary, you don't have to pay anything per month into the system
nothing.
But now that's because we're citizens.
because you're
So there
citizens.
are people here that are living, that are here on a elective resident visa.
Yes.
They do have to get a health insurance. It is cheaper here, of course, than it is in the States.
Mm-hmm.
We know people that have had, like Gary, cataract, a full knee replacement. What else?
Now you can buy into the system once you're here on your
Okay.
elective visa or whatever. You can buy into it and it's still dirt cheap compared to the States.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what that is?
I think it's about 7% of your income, what you report as income.
Mhm.
And when you think about it, that's not bad.
What is this new thing that's just going around with the €2,000 that people have to pay?
I saw that too.
That I know that has affected quite a few of our friends here in Luca.
It's 2,000 something like that a year, but if you break that down, it's still for people that are 65 or over, I think, or something. I don't want to be misquoted. I don't want to misquote
Right.
that information.
Correct.
But it's like 2,000 a year. You break that down, it's still under 200 per month to have coverage, that full coverage that you get, which you can't find anything in the United States even close to that.
Correct.
So
No,
it's still a great deal. If you got to
But I
be,
don't know all the details
Yeah.
about it, but I do know they just raised it. It used to be,
I think it's 2,000 a couple though.
no, well,
'Cause that's
no,
what-
I'll disagree.
Okay. Well, okay.
yeah,
But I think it used to be like 1,200 and it went up to 2.
yeah,
But again, I don't, like you, I don't know the details of it because it doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
That's something I have to do some more research and see what the changes were.
yeah, yeah.
Because they just changed the tax system here too. They changed brackets a little bit, so.
Yeah. So that's another thing I was going to ask you guys. Are you in one of those 7% regions? Now, for the viewers watching, there are areas that you can live in Italy. And if you decide or choose one of those areas, then they only tax your income's 7% for 10 years, I believe.
It's got to be in a small southern region, and the town has to have under 20,000 population.
Okay. So you guys aren't in that. Okay. So
Not at all.
now you're talking about living within a tax bracket. They're looking at the incomes and then, so your income is being taxed, correct?
Yes,
Now, let me ask you this. Are you still a citizen of the US?
We
yes,
are, and we still
Okay.
pay tax.
So
in
you're
the
being
US.
taxed there and you're being taxed there. Now, there is a dual taxation treaty between the US in Italy. So do you guys work with like a CPA that works that all out for you so that you're not fully double taxed, I guess?
You can't be double taxed. They won't let you. But yes, there's plenty of commercialistas here that help expats with taxes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
and if you go to 10 commercialistas, you're gonna get 10 different answers.
Yeah,
This is,
that's
this is true.
because it's so it is complex. That's where you got to really do your due diligence and
Yeah.
do your research before you make your decision. Well,
To
guys,
give
that's
you an example,
go.
to give you an example, if I may, if you pay taxes in Italy, when you file your US taxes, you'll owe probably nothing because you'll pay more here than you would have in the US. So that's factored in and you get a wash.
Yeah, and I think that's how it works. If you're paying more in the US, then it's a wash in Italy.
It could be, it could be.
Yeah.
But don't forget that the Italy tax system starts at 23% now.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, it starts at what, 15, 10, 15, somewhere in that range.
Right. Yeah. But the money still goes further. It all kind of figures out how to equal itself out.
Yeah, it exactly.
And you guys are living the dream, man. You're living in Tuscany in this beautiful town.
We
Can't
are
beat it.
indeed. Sometimes I have to pinch myself
Yeah.
just to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, you guys. Is there anything else you can think of that we haven't discussed that could be beneficial to the viewers? You could, that you guys have a couple books in a blog, or you could plug that.
Well, first, I think I would love to tell people to, and I always say it, people will say to us, I want what you have. You're like you said, you're living the dream. Well, we made it happen.
Yeah.
And most people, like, I won't say everyone because there's always extenuating circumstances, but if you want something different in your life, find it. And maybe it's not Italy, maybe it's, Spain, if that's your thing. For Gary, and it was about his heritage, and he wanted to bring his name back home, which we have.
Yeah.
And then we fell in love with the culture and the people that came after. But
Yeah.
I truly would tell anybody to not settle in life. It's too short. Find what speaks to you and make it happen.
Yeah,
I really,
exactly.
I would really want that. And so our first book is Our Italian Journey, and that was written in 2019 as we traveled through Italy. We were in search, as I mentioned, for our perfect Italian town. Our second book is called When Your Heart Finds Its Home. And guess I'll spill the beans. It's about Luca, because this is where,
This is where
our-
our hearts found its home.
Correct.
Yes.
and our first book was so well received, and everybody enjoyed hearing our voices and that. We just finished with a producer, a young kid, Mike here. He's Mike Searle. He was wonderful, and he helped us produce the audiobook for our Italian journey. So that's now on Audible.
And since we wrote the books, each individual chapters, alternating, we spoke our parts
Mhm.
for the
Well, yeah, so we alternate reading.
reading as well. Yes.
So you
then
guys
our blog-
actually, you recorded your voices for the Audible.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
So
So
we have,
sorry if I bore anybody.
and then our blog is ouritalianjourney.com. So we've won a couple of awards. We've done 3 years in a row, best
Best
couples
couples.
travel blog. So
And that blog provides a lot of details and information about Italy for people that are interested in
Yes.
living or
Absolutely.
retiring in Italy.
absolutely.
We have people contacting us every day asking, this is my situation. What do you think? And we try to help them as best we can.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with the Italian government changing its rules and regulations.
Right. Yeah.
Because it seems every day something else changes. But I can give them a starting point.
And we do. We help people if they're interested in dual citizenship. We help that. I'm always getting emails about itineraries. I'm coming to Italy. Can I do Venice and Rome and Sicily and
Florence and
Yeah.
So every day I think that's what sets us apart a little bit from other blogs, and that is that we actually Zoom with people, we email, we text, we call.
and more importantly, if you do make it here and come to Luca,
Oh.
we would love to sit, have a drink, have a coffee, a meal, whatever, and meet you and talk to you and help you with anything you might have.
We have a lot of people that we actually, they come to Luca to meet us, which
Yeah.
it blows our mind. We don't understand it, but we're happy to do so.
That's
Always
fantastic.
happy to do.
Well, that's fantastic. If I come to Luca, I'm just going to move in with you guys.
No, we only have a bedroom, remember?
But we
have
do
no
have a fold-out couch.
Oh, yes.
The couch does fold out, so.
Well, okay. Well, Ilene, Gary, thanks so much for doing this, man. It's a pleasure meeting you two.
It
We-
was our pleasure.
It was our pleasure, and thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, you guys have a great rest of the evening over there, and I'll talk to you soon.
Very good.
Sounds good.
Look forward.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.